As well as can be. How are you?
Great. God is good. Good to have you. How is Nigeria? I believe you're in Nigeria.
Yeah, I'm in Nigeria. Nigeria is great. Loving it. I was meant to be out of the country, but thank God I was able to stay for my family and cancel my trip and stuff because I needed the rest. So it's good to be home.
Good, good. The School of Prophets, have the student gone back or they're still around?
Oh, they went back a long time ago.
Wow. Wow. I had a
Which was,
great time with them. These
yeah,
were hungry people for God.
they
They were amazing, amazing people. How are you doing today? How's the wonderful First Lady and the children?
Yep, it's up already, ready to go to school. I'm actually trying to be as quiet as I can because if I make noise, they're gonna run into my office
Yes,
and break
I
in.
can imagine.
So yeah, my wife is good as well. Everyone's doing
Okay, good. Welcome. So you have the guided question. And it's a conversation format. You just lead us in picking each of the point at the items and we discuss, you discuss, I discuss, and we share.
okay. Great, great. So, where would you like me to start?
Just go ahead right away. I'm sure you have a list of those questions, so you can start from the first one and
Okay,
then we go to the last.
okay. Yes, I'm just seeing them. Okay, great. Well, so welcome. Thank you. Thank you again for having me on the program. Um, Monetization habits. Is that the first subject you're discussing?
Yes, so we're discussing the Billionaire Habits for Pastors. It's a book that I felt was needed in the body of Christ at this moment because a lot of the work, in the body requires a lot of money. And this is now the time that we're seeing the conversation around giving being attacked. And so it calls for pastors to also, put structure in their own personal finance. We've had to see pastors who manipulate members, to extort money from them in the name of one thing or the other. And we've seen pastors who build wealth. They're billionaires today, wealthy people, by putting proper structure. Some of them have investment, they have businesses, and it has led to having a dignified life. And so the conversation is to begin to have that mindset amongst pastors. The first book was The Billionaire Habit, and it was generally for everyone. And after this book, a lot of pastors started reaching out to me, particularly the older ones, people in their 50s, they've pastored for 25 years, 30 years. Their kids are now in college, there are bills to pay, and it looks as if things are not going well for them. And we felt a book like this would go a long way in mind shift because a lot of pastors focus on the work of the ministry and then don't create other alternative source of income so that they and their family can live a dignified and a decent life. So we had to get a crop of pastors that I felt were of this school of thought and believe in this school of thought, and that we could just do a master class that would go with the book. So this conversation will go with the book, and so as people read the book, they can also go through these discussions.
Wonderful. Okay, great.
Mm.
So I guess to my start to this message or title would be to develop a good name. One of the things
Mm.
I'm always trying to do is identify the science of,
Mm.
you know, what what began the ministry to where it is now, and the
Mhm.
business we run to where it is now. And I
Mm.
found that the secret actually is tied to a good name. You know,
Mm.
22 verse 1 says, a good name is better
It's
than
better.
riches. And so
Mm.
you know, people pursue riches, but they
Mm.
don't pursue a good name. And
Mm.
a good name, when it's built up, will
We give you
automatically,
more than riches.
exactly, it'll give you
Mm.
so many different things.
Mm.
So to talk about monetization is very difficult without first addressing a good name. Even if we're
Mm.
not talking about, let's say, you know, Tomi Arayomi is a good name.
Mm.
Stephen Akintayo is a good name. These are
Mm.
that
Mm.
when people
Mm.
hear, oh, you know, there's a business deal you're in front of, maybe somebody
Mm.
says, I'm doing a business deal, and they're like,
Mm.
we don't know you, we don't trust you, blah, blah, blah. And then they
Mm.
say, yeah, but do you know Stephen Akintayo? He's a
Yeah.
friend of mine. Oh, he's a friend
Mm.
of yours. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. You do business with him. How long you been doing business with him?
Mm.
So in the invocation of a name is a biblical
Mm.
practice. That's
Mm.
why we call on the name of Jesus, because that's a good name.
Mm. That's a
It's
good name.
actually it's actually the name above every
All
other.
of that name. Mm.
And the good
Mm.
news is actually about the name of Jesus. And I think where most people don't hear that scripture is Jesus is not the only name. He's the name
Mm.
above every other name.
All of the
God
name.
actually wants to give all of us a good name.
Mm.
Abraham is probably a close second under the name of Jesus.
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
be real. It's a
Absolutely.
good name. God said to
Absolutely.
Abraham in Genesis chapter 12, I will make your name great.
Mm.
And so
Mm.
you'll begin to discover that the blessing of God is
Mm.
automatically attracted to a
Mm.
good
Mm.
name. So
Mm.
for people, for instance, who want to build a brand, let's say they want
Mm.
to build, you know, the Forex brand that you were speaking about in the
Mhm.
introduction of those you were mentioning, you know,
Mm.
and you're telling him you may have to change your name. So you're even already beginning the subject of my message because the name is too complicated. A name that's too complicated to be remembered.
Exactly. Exactly.
Next on the next exactly on the next time you call it will be difficult. And so
Yes.
that's why you see most even businesses and brands go for
Mm-hmm.
names that you would think, why are you choosing that name? Apple.
Mm.
Uh,
Mm.
you know, why are you choosing these simple names?
Yes.
Um, and the reason they choose Tom Tom, for instance, these
Mm-hmm.
simple names
Simple.
are
Very simple.
memorable names that if I
Mm.
recall that name again, I'll begin to understand it.
Mm.
If I were to reflect on others, I would reflect on Hadassah,
Mm.
who, for the sake of the industry that she was entering,
Mm.
Mordecai's first advice to her was to change
Mm.
her name. Because
Mm. Mm.
there was something about the understanding of a simple name, something
Wow.
that the
Wow.
generation that she was entering into could understand and assimilate. It may have been
Wow.
offensive to her parents, to well, her
Mm-hmm.
parents were dead, but it may have been offensive for her to change her
Mm-hmm.
name to other
Mm.
people around her. But to enter the place she was entering into for the sake of name recognition, or what the
Mm-hmm.
marketplace calls brand recognition, it was
Mm-hmm.
simple. It was upon her to
Mm.
first of all adopt a name. You know,
Wow.
I look at Instagram myself, and I see all these complicated, complex names. Jesus favorite 2002. I
Wow.
love Jesus since 1987. Even old church. We
Yeah.
still make jokes of it in Nigeria. The name of
Mm-hmm.
church is, you
Mm-hmm.
know, my church is called Jesus Christ Died for You.
Mm.
My church is called Jesus Loves You International on Hill Ministries Global. Um, so even all of these things, we've managed in this generation to reduce the name Elevation
Yes.
Church,
Yes.
House on the Rock, because
Yes.
we found in this generation that the people have a shorter span memory, 7 seconds
Yes.
is the average
Yes.
memory.
Yeah.
So it's important. The right name is very important, and I
Mm.
believe that people want to establish business or establish themselves personally must choose their name well.
Mm.
My full
Mm.
name is Oluwatomiyosi Arayomi.
Mm.
Um, I'm called not just to Nigeria, who may be able to say that. I'm
Yeah.
called to the planet. Now imagine if I go to America and they say it's
Actually,
just
what told
about
me.
to introduce tell me Yoshi. Is it Yoshi? Did I get that right? I mean, they have a hard time pronouncing my surname. They go Arayami. So now they have a hard time. Imagine complicating that
Yes.
by adding extras. And I know Nigerians are very proud of their name. In fact, when I ask
And we are.
your name, they will
We are.
tell the top end, the third twice removed. And you're like, is there a simpler? Can I call you Temi? They say no. You must call me Oluwatemi because they're very proud of their name. But your name must reflect something that you want the world to carry. Your name must reflect something that you want the world to carry, and it's got to be simple enough. Every person you read in the Bible, God was always hooked on their name. I'm going to call you Abraham from now. I'm going to call you Sarah from now on.
Yeah.
I'm going to change your name because that's the name that I'm going to make great.
I think you should write a book on this, because this is deep. This is just this is a book on its own. I honestly think you should consider it. Like, this is a book on its own, right? And I think that a lot of people underrate the importance of name. You are not a businessman, you're the business. Your name either opens doors or closes doors. And it's important that people know that a lot of what you need to do for most part of it as an entrepreneur is just building a good name. Yeah. Just constantly. That's why you do, even among pastors. How do pastors grow their ministry? Testimonies. But what testimony is doing is revalidates a good ministry, a good servant of God, right? It's people saying, I met Apostle Tommy and he prophesied, and this changed my life. I, for example, got to know you during the coronation of Olu of Wari, and I saw the prophecy you gave him, and to what you're teaching, that's a name, in terms of not even who occupies that, but the throne itself, Olu of Wari, right? It's a name. And getting to know that, this was the prophet who prophesied that this new person will carry this name. Yeah. Suddenly, got more people to know about the ministry, at least from our part of the world. So you're very spot on about that. We cannot think of monetization. And monetization is just basically how can something translate into more income, right? And for that to translate into more income, that name has to be good. An investment has to be made to make sure it's good, because for you to have a good name, there has to also be perception that you have a good name. It's not just that you do. It's it says, I make Abraham rich. That was a perception conversation Abraham was talking about. It wasn't that it was true. But I'm going to do things in such a way that I don't even create a perception that it was this man that made me rich. So we have to intentionally work on the perception of our brand, who we are, what we stand for. And that I was given an example how TDJX own 18 businesses. One of the strategies is just simple. People see a good suit on TDJX and like, I love the suit. And at the beginning, of course, you just say, go and meet that guy. But after a while, you realize that, come on, what's wrong with just starting a suit business? This guy will still be the one to deliver it. I can charge as much as $5,000 to $10,000. This guy is charging $1,200. Right now, I have $2,800 just coming to me for just the name, because it's the TDJ's name that people are kind of connecting with. And now the money is coming in from the fashion business of TDJ's. And people think he's the one doing it, because when people hear TDJ's own 18 businesses, in their mind, how is he? No, you can use your name, and I love that you really focus on this name thing. You can use your name.
Yeah.
Your name in itself is the money, is the business, is what people are attracted to. Anybody else can do the delivery aspect of it. Once you find credible person, he can always do the production aspects and all that. But people only do business because of the name, because of the visibility of that name and the credibility of the name. Fantastic. Spot on. Please go ahead.
You look back at Genesis, you realize that the first intention of God when he made man was to name it. Whatever he named it, the Bible animated and became everything that he named it. And so I realize that for most people in business, this feels like a non-starter or a small place to begin. But the name is very, very, very valuable. When you understand the power of a name, you want to protect it. And so scripture says a good name is better than fine perfume. A good name is better than fine perfume. So if a good name is described as fine perfume, then it's only certain that a bad name is a bad perfume. It's a smelling. When people hear certain names, you can even see their face contorting as if there's a bad smell in the room. Because a bad name releases a bad smell. A good name releases a good smell. So the naming of things is always going to be an important aspect of the assignment. You look at Joseph, who when he entered into Egypt, his name was changed to Zaphanath-Paneah. You look at Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, whose names were changed by Nebuchadnezzar. And you realize that at the beginning of every person's great venture, there's always going to be a name change. The name of a thing must reflect the industry that you're entering into. This is one of the things I've discovered. The name of a thing must reflect directly the industry that you're entering into. I'm sure when you're doing business with people, maybe with stakes in where you are, you may not introduce yourself as Pastor Stephen Akintayo. You may introduce Dr. Stephen Akintayo. Because the name of a thing reflects the area of industry that you're going to get into. You don't want to engage in conversation with somebody and then the close is at the gate. All of a sudden, of your introduction, you're like, I'm a pastor. Everybody begins to run from the hills. The conversation with you begins to change to how do I get out of this awkward place as quickly as possible. So whatever conversation you have with people must reflect the name that you're leading with. And this is why I believe that in the beginning, the first thing God did to man was he brought the animals to him and said, time for you to name it. If you're, for instance, if you're writing a book, I remember one day I sat down to write a book and I put my face on the front cover of the book. I was probably around 21 years old when I wrote the book and I wasn't that known. And so I put my face on the front cover of the book. I put my name on the front cover of the book, and I gave the book to my mentor at the time, a best-selling author. And I said, hey, can you take a look at this book for me and tell me what you think? And he said, I love the book. I love the content. It's the cover I don't understand. He said, why face on the cover of the book? I said, why not? I said, T.D. Jakes covers on the front of his book. He said, T.D. Jakes is known. Nobody knows you. So who are you? He said, who are you writing the book for? I said, ouch. You see, most people stab themselves in the foot by putting themselves on the cover of a book when they're not even known. The reason T.D. Jakes on the cover of a book is because the picture elicits a name. When you see
Yeah.
that picture, it's like, oh, that's Bishop Jakes. You recognize it straight away.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
name and the image are matching in a person's mind. So
Mm.
here's the second thing I'll say. Your name must match and be a direct reflection of your image. And
Mm.
I find is the most successful people keep an image.
Mm.
God made us in an image for a reason, because the image was
Mm.
supposed to do all the explanation.
Mm.
There was never supposed to be a time Adam was supposed to explain who he was. His image
Mm.
eventually was supposed to do all the talking for him.
Mm.
God
Mm.
made man in his image, not in his education. And so some
Mm.
people try to tell people, this is who I am, this is what I do, blah, blah, blah. There must come a time where you stop telling people who you are and what you do. The image and the name are akin. And so you see people like Simon Cowell.
So that, in other words, when people think of an industry, your name comes to mind.
Exactly. When people think of an industry, when people think of a name, your name comes to mind.
Mm.
So people say, well, how do I get to that place? So my response to that would be borrow a name. If you
Really?
don't have a name, borrow a name. You see, there are people who are authors, and we call them authors because they're authorities.
Mm.
Nobody should author who's not an authority. People say, I want to write a book. I said, why do you want to write a book? They say, because God told me to write a book. What are you writing a book about? I'm writing a book about business. Are you successful? Are you successful in business? No. So why are you writing a book on business? Author comes from the word authority. You've got to establish an authority in a certain area, like business, media, ministry, prophetic, before you start authoring those books. And so you look at Jesus, for instance. Jesus borrowed a name. He came to John. Why? Because no one has come. There was nobody with greater name recognition in all of Scripture than John the Baptist. And I'm not saying use people. I'm saying submit to the person to whom you're trying to establish yourself before you come to that place of greatness. Every person must find the authority in the field they're trying to excel in. Once you find that authority by companionship and by name recognition, eventually the reputation of that person soon becomes your reputation as well. Jesus's disciples were noted because the Bible says they took note that these men had been with Jesus.
With Jesus.
There has to come an association. We have to recognize, who have you been with? Where have you come from? We have a generation today that want to be what I call shooting stars. They just want to come up quickly, start ministry like they're starting business, or start business like they're just hoping for the best and wanting their business to succeed, but they don't want to associate and they don't want to affiliate. And those things are important.
What if people feel that, some of the so-called name that they need to borrow also comes with some baggage? And I'll give you an example. I'm a pastor, and Bishop Oyedepo is a billionaire in every right. But, there's been a lot of negativity. There's been a lot of baggage attached to, he asked for private jet. And I'm like, do I necessarily? So how do people resolve that conflict?
I think people have to, first of all, they have to ask themselves, what's their goal? They have to ask themselves, what is it that they're trying to achieve? Look at, for instance, Naomi. Naomi came with negative baggage. She even explained it. My name is Mara. I'm chronically depressed and I'm bitter. I'm bitter with God, and this is who I am. But yet Ruth decided that this is somebody I need to cleave to. But there was a goal. So the question is, what at the end of cleaving to this person is his goal? You know, for instance, your goal is business. Your goal is business and your goal is ministry. But let's say your goal was simply poised towards business. Bishop Oyedepo was a perfect man for business because he has such a strong strategic mind and a business pointing. So like I said, okay, so a good name is very important, but no matter how you flatten a cake, there's always going to be two sides. No, how much, you know, people say Tony's amazing. There's another side of people who think Tony is a human well, and you should never associate with him. There are videos of me on YouTube with a superhero costume on. People say he thinks he's a superhero, this false prophet. So they're everywhere. Critics abound. In fact, I'm surprised one of them hasn't come up on this chat this morning just to remind me that I'm a false prophet. You know, I was even contemplating making T-shirts with false prophet on them, just to own the. It might as well own the brand name that people are. That's a good thing if that's what they're decrying you as and they're persecuting you. So I thought, let me own it and even maybe monetize the brand of prophet.
I'll monetize it.
I might as well make something from it, seeing as that's what it's called. And so, you know, it depends on your goal. What's the goal? What's the outcome? But you know, I tell people this, if you're going to affiliate with anybody, you have to be willing to embrace the good and the bad, because this isn't about usury. This is about relationship.
Very true.
If I'm going to affiliate with Bishop Oyedepo, I have to embrace everything. If I'm going to embrace Jesus, they call Jesus a wine bibber, a drunkard, and a friend of harlots. So there's a flip side to his reputation. If I associate with him, they said the man's demon possessed. But affiliation is very important, and not just in ministry. Affiliation is very important in business as well. You know, you want to associate with people whose name and whose reputation you can marinate yourself in until you adopt something great. You know, in the perfect model of God is discipleship. It's not actually mentorship.
Absolutely.
Probably where I come into my third point. The perfect model of God is for delivering success. Is not actually mentorship, it's discipleship. Mentorship has its place. I believe everyone should find their mentors and their father. I think everyone should define many mentors, one father. What are your mentors? Your mentors are the people that pull out what's on the inside of you already. They put what's on the inside of you on you, and they tell you what deliberately. Your discipler is somebody who pulls out what's on the inside of them. Puts it on you. Like Elijah, I'm going to take of my spirit. You know, eventually you begin to walk and talk like the person who disciples you. Talk like the person who mentors you, but you carry the spirit of the person that disciples you.
This is good.
People tell me I sound a lot like my spiritual mother. I'm like, that's true, because I'm marinated in her spirit. I've spent time with her, and so everything she carries has now become a part of my DNA, what we call DNA, or my bleeding. So those are some three things that I would say about, you know, the what I've discovered about people who succeed in their monetization habits.
Powerful. I mean, guys, if you had a great time, come on, give it up. This is beautiful. And I honestly feel, I'm not sure I've seen a book out there that talks about this concept of name. And you've just, because honestly, it is a book on its own. And sometimes people don't even realize it. That the reason why certain doors have not opened is because, you know, they've not associated with certain names, and they've not borrowed certain names, and they have not carried certain names. So this is really, really exciting. Okay, number 2.
Honest spiritual and biological parents' habits. I love this one. This one is actually my favorite. I have a bank account separate for my parents. And
Mm.
I developed the habit of putting money regularly into those bank accounts for my
Yeah.
parents and for my spiritual parents. You know,
Yeah.
some people say, should we tithe? I think those people are late because the New Testament standard is not tithing. The New
Mm.
Testament standard is your all. One of the
Mm.
things I've discovered about this word called honor, honor.
Mm.
You know, the Nigeria loves honor. They love honor. You know,
Mm.
I had one friend from Hungary, very good looking young man, spiritual son. He came to Nigeria and he
Mm.
saw my house stuff.
Mm.
And he saw how I treated them and how they treated me. When they see me in the morning, they bow, good morning, sir, and they greet
Mm.
me down. And he was looking and he thought in his Western mind, he
Yeah.
was like, this is so cruel. And what he decided to do was he said to himself, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and find them some money and then I'm going to hug them when I leave. I said, you want to hug my house stuff? I said, please go ahead and hug them. But before you do, just be prepared to marry both of them because they're going to understand the money and the hugging as your what do you call it when you give money for a bride, as your dowry. And so he said, what are you talking about? I said, this is a respect culture. We're not like you guys in the West who greet with hugging. We greet with a certain level of honor and we greet with a certain level of deference in our culture. And that's how we begin everything with respect. So you discover the Western world is very romantic. The Eastern
Mm.
world is very reverential.
Mm.
But even our reverence is shifting somewhat as we begin
Yes.
to embrace more
Yes.
Western ideals.
Yes.
Our
Yes.
reverence
Very
is
true.
becoming more of a shell of what it once
Yes.
was. You know,
Yeah.
because
Very
back in
true.
the day, reverence meant you brought gifts.
Yes. Yes.
You brought substance. Everybody has
Yeah.
that favorite uncle that when they come to the house, the kids line up because they know they're coming
Yes.
with money and they're going
Yes.
to give everything because that's honor. Honor
Yeah.
doesn't come without substance. That's why it says, honor
Mm.
the Lord with thy
Mm.
substance.
Mm.
Most Christians today don't speak lies, we just sing them.
Mm.
We
Mm.
can tell God, you're my everything, I give you
Mm.
everything. And when God comes to quantify our praise, like Abraham says, you see, that's so
Mm.
important to me.
Mm.
We shy away, and offering time becomes the biggest time to run for the car and get home. Honoring your parents
Go
becomes
to the
about
restroom.
honoring them with words and buying them cards and saying, I honor you. That's not biblical honor. Biblical
Mm.
honor doesn't approach a parent or a
Mm.
spiritual parent empty handed.
Mm. Mm.
Somebody said to me one day, I can't honor my parents because they were wicked to me.
Wow.
I said, what do you mean? Well,
Wow.
my dad left me, my mom did this to me. I said, okay, this is why we're losing a generation. We're
Mm.
losing a generation because we don't understand honor is not the same thing as
Mm.
romance. Romance
Mm.
cultures happen when people are kind to us and they
Mm.
love us, we love them back. In reverence culture, we
Mm.
honor the office of parent.
Mm.
We don't honor
Mm.
the parent. We honor
Mm.
the office of
Mm.
parent. Just like we
Mm-hmm.
honor the office of the president of Nigeria, or we honor the
Absolutely.
office of the president of the U.S. Listen, I
Absolutely.
don't make light of it. I do not want Bola Tinubu to win, but if he wins, I must honor the office of the president of Nigeria, whether I like
Absolutely.
it or not, because
Absolutely.
prophets have tried to dishonor that and have ended up with their heads chopped off. So I must within protocol find a
Yeah.
way to honor the office of that person. I don't
Yeah.
like Joe Biden. I think the
Yeah.
man needs to go into a home and
Mm-hmm.
have a break and eat
Yeah.
some World original sweets and
Mm-hmm.
sew and go into knitting. But I honor
Mm-hmm.
the office of the president.
The
It's the
president of
same
the
thing.
United
Honor
States.
principles are very important because they establish, once you establish honor, that honor comes back to you.
Mm.
Honor means kabod. It's in Hebrew, it means weight, kabad. It means
Mm.
weight. The reason there's no weight upon our name is because
Mm.
no weight upon the names that matter to God.
Mm.
And when we don't put weight upon the names that matter to God, then that honor doesn't come back to us. Or as First Peter puts it, them that honor me, I'll honor them. But them that dishonor me, I will, where there's kalal, it means to lightly esteem. Esteem comes from the word estimation. That means and the estimation of kalal is zero by biblical estimation. So he says, for those that dishonor the things that I say honor, I'm going to estimate their marketplace value as zero. Everybody's got to know their marketplace value. Football players are worth millions of dollars. The question is, what is your value? Your value is attributable to the honor you show others. I found the interesting word in the New Testament. There's this Roman centurion who probably learned from the mistake the Greek woman did. Maybe he was there in the room when the Greek woman went to Jesus saying, heal my child, and Jesus called her a dog. Maybe he looked again, he's Jesus. So he's not a typical pastor that you can just call and say, pray for me. He'll say, no, you're a dog, go away. So he said, wow, let me send some Jewish people to him. So Jesus said, this Roman centurion was smart, right? He sent some Jews to Jesus. Because he probably heard, I can't give the children's food to a dog. Okay, so let me send some of the children of Abraham to you so that...
If Jesus were to have said that in this generation, he's going to be
he'll go
locked up.
viral. He will go viral.
And these people probably going to be locked up.
Exactly. He'll go viral for all the wrong reasons. Pastor
they will call it Gentile phobic. He's Gentile phobic. The problem will freeze his accounts. They will freeze his social media accounts.
So true. So true. Oh, man. So Jesus, Jesus looks at this woman and he says to her, this Roman centurion, he sends Jews to them and says, hey, come, please, come heal this man's servant. And look what he said. I honed in on this word, Stephen. He says, he deserves to have you do this. Have you ever heard somebody say they deserve a miracle?
Wow.
Most of us sing the song, I'm unworthy, you are worthy, I'm so unworthy. This man said he's worthy. They said he's worthy of you coming to do this miracle for him.
Wow. Wow.
And it was the first time I read it like it was the first time just a couple of weeks ago. You deserve this miracle. Have you ever come to God and say, I deserve this, you to do this miracle, I deserve. He says, why does he deserve it? He said, well, look what he's done. He said, he loves our country. Wow. This man loves our country. He's even built, the proof is, look what he's done. He's built our temple. He built this thing there. You see that? He built it. And you said, take me to it. Just pause on that for a second. He deserves to have you do this because he loves us and he's built a temple. That word there is the word axios. It's where we get the word axis. It's where you put a scale on the axis and then you put gold on one side. It's foreign exchange in those days. You put gold on one side and you keep putting the equivalent of your own currency on the other side until the gold and your currency balances out. So what it's saying about honor is you must give God the kind of honor that is estimable in your realm to the outpouring of the goodness of God that he's bestowed upon your life. Most people have never tipped the scale. Most people just, they don't honor anybody. They just want to be honored. They don't bless anybody. They just want to be blessed. And so they never tip the scale. The Bible says this man is axios. The word that is worthy. In other words, he's the word that is worth. He's given the worth that is estimable to the position you bestowed upon him. And I can show you, look at that temple over there. He built it selflessly. Didn't benefit Romans, it benefited us. He did that. And Jesus said, take me to him. So he's on his way to him, and the master says to him, I am not axios. He says he sends servants out. I'm not axios. I'm not worthy. that you should come under my house. He said, what I've done is worthy of you speaking from where you are. If you come into my house, I'm going to have to break the bank just to equal some new. I'm going to have to break the bank just to weigh out some honor that's worthy of this reception of you coming to my house. Biblically, they understood honor. In honor cultures, you don't come to your elder. Your elder doesn't come to you. In biblical culture, you come to your elder. The measurement of who the elder is, we know this in Nigeria, is who approaches who. In the Western culture, parents go to their kids. You know, maybe a British adult will go upstairs to meet their child and say, give me your laundry so I can wash it for you. That is not biblical culture. In biblical culture, your parent will call you from 3 floors up. They say, Benga, Benga. And Benga will come downstairs. What's the matter? Bring me the remote. And the remote is over there. And even the mom can just stretch her hand and grab the remote. But it's kingdom culture. Kingdom culture determines who comes to who. So you look at scripture and you ask yourself, what is the measure of greatness? Jesus said, no one has come who's greater than John. And I used to wonder, John didn't do miracles. John didn't do what Elijah did. John didn't do what Moses did. How is John greater? John threw water on people. What does that mean that no one has come who's greater than John? And then I learned the principle here. Jesus' disciples were arguing who is the greatest among them. And Jesus called a little child and said to the little child, come. You see, most people miss it because they think what Jesus is saying is you have to become a baby. You have to become dependent on Father. You have to call him Daddy from now on and become dependent on him for everything you need in life. That's what they think that word means. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. I can hear you. Your visuals
I think your network is a bit friend. Yeah, maybe, but it's good now.
Okay. So Jesus said to this little child, come. And when he said come, in saying that, he was saying, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. It's good. We're saying you perfectly well.
He was saying to the little child, come. And in saying come to the little child, and when the child came, all of a sudden he says, you got to become like this child. In other words, if I say come and you come, you're honoring your elder. You've got to become. See what this child did when I say come? He came. Same thing the Roman centurion said. I say to this one, come, and he comes. I say to this one, go, and he goes. And to my servant, do this, and he does it. So the measure of your greatness is your commanding power. It's the capacity to tell someone, come here. You come here. And they come. So when it said, no one has come who is greater than John. Why? Because John didn't go to nations. John stood in a desert somewhere, and nations came to John. So strong was the commanding power of John that even Jesus came to John.
That's a good.
And John was perplexed. John said, I'm not even Axios to untie your sandals. How can I even, one is coming. I'm not even Axios to untie sandals. Let alone have him come to me. But all of a sudden, John's doing his ministry, and behold, here comes the one who's supposed to be the elder, and is coming to the one who's supposed to be the younger spiritually. And Jesus says, permit this to be so, to fulfill all righteousness. Then he finishes, no one is greater than John. Because even John, even I came to go see John. And so you realize that the level of your greatness is determined by your commanding power. But there are people who want to say come, who have never come to anybody in their life. There are people who want to say go, who have never gone to anybody in their life. There are people who want to be a commander, who have never been a subordinate. And so he says, if you want to be the greatest, you've got to start by being the least. You've got to find somebody who can tell you, come here, go over there, come, go, come, do this, go. automatically you will begin to pick up on some power as you're
Wow.
serving. And
Wow.
so people who don't want to humble themselves can never be conduits for promotion.
Mm, mm. Powerful. This is really, really powerful. I mean, to your question, to the comment you made about the person who says, "I'm not going to take care of my parents because they were never there for me." My own father was never there for me financially, but I built him a house, bought him a car, and I've always shared this that why it's important to take care of your biological parent is because it's a commandment. It's not a
Absolutely.
suggestion. The Bible talking about that it may be well with you. Do you want it to be well with you? Then honor
Absolutely.
thy father and thy mother, that you may live long. Do you want to live long? Honor your
Mm.
father and your mother. So this is a commandment. It's not, and it's a New Testament commandment, funny enough.
Yeah.
So for those who love to say, oh, that's Old Testament, this one is new. So it's
Mhm.
important to know that there's a place of, it's a commandment to honor. And I've always shared how one of my biggest breakthrough happened financially years ago. We just finished a 21-day fasting. And, I was encouraged that we should empty our account to my spiritual father. I mean, as at that time, this was many, many years ago, almost 10 years ago. And as at that time, I only had 25,000 naira in my account, and I emptied it and I put in the as a seed, put his name on it and drop it in an offering basket. Now in my church, because it's a service is over 200,000 people, so you can't even go and say you want to physically, personally give that seed. Plus, how much is it? And so just drop in offering basket, address it to him. Monday for the first time. The highest transaction I'd done that time was 500,000 to 1 million in the business I was doing. And somebody called me and said, hey, we want to do 30 million. In fact, I felt it was a scam. I felt someone was just playing with me, but I sent the invoice. Now, to my surprise, by Tuesday, the money had hit my account. In fact, my bank had to freeze it was a corporate account, but they freeze it because such huge money had never entered before. So they had to ask me to come and explain
Yeah.
what the money was for. And that's how spiritual and how powerful sowing to your spiritual parents can be. It can
Yeah.
just turn your life around. It can be, it's just supernatural. Some doors will just fling open. And it's not that you do it because you feel like it. These are commandments. The people who feed you spiritually, every
Yeah.
week you go, you don't know what they go through to come
Yeah.
and minister and preach. Your biological parents, you don't know what they went through to raise you. They may not be perfect, but
Absolutely.
you have to honor them, not just in words
Absolutely.
like you've taught, but in gifts, in kind, with even material things. And I think anybody who is hurt by their parent need to understand that even while you work towards being healed, always
Mhm.
stretch substance to them on a regular basis. It's a commandment, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. I agree. I totally
Mm.
agree with you.
So number three,
Number three, converting criticism to fortune habits. I think the simplest answer I can give to this one is
I can hear you. I think a
let me keep
call came
going.
in.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
So converting criticism to fortune habits. I think that
Yeah.
the first thing you have to come into is, you know, people have often said that Joseph's biggest problem was that he shared his dream with dream killers.
Mm,
And you got to be careful of dream killers. I've heard people
mm,
coin that
mm,
phrase often. But the challenge to that is, how else would Joseph have arrived at his destiny if he didn't share his
Exactly. Exactly.
So, you know,
Exactly.
my theory is you have two people in life. I've always said this: you have mentors and you have tormentors, and both teach.
Mm. Mm.
Your mentors teach, your tormentors teach. They're both
Mm.
mentors, and
Mm-hmm.
you have to learn to see from both of them.
Mm.
Um, they both help keep you in a
Mm.
very straight place. You know, to
Mm.
be who you are, there's certain characteristics that I'd imagine you have to adopt. One of
Yeah.
them is for Stephen to be who he has to be an excellent negotiator.
Mm.
Uh, Another one is I'd imagine he has to be somewhat disagreeable.
Mm.
Um, you can't agree with everything.
Absolutely.
Because agreeable people don't make good businessmen. So
Mm. Mm.
you have to be somewhat disagreeable. You have to be willing
Mm.
to walk away from the table and lose the
Mm.
deal.
Mm.
Uh, and so these characteristics are usually akin to really, if these characteristics are stressed, they
Yeah.
can even lead to tyrannical natures. Look at our,
Yes.
president of nations.
Very true.
Is right around the corner. Narcissism is right around the corner,
Mm-hmm.
because there's great achievement in walking to a table and being disagreeable and slamming your fist on the table in defiance. We're not doing that today. Having everybody
Yeah.
look at you like you're crazy, and then at the end of it, be right. And so I'd imagine you have good structures in place that keep you
Yeah.
balanced. You know, like a
Yes.
wife keeps you humble,
Mm.
and kids keep
Mm.
you tried and
Mm.
tested, and those
Mm.
things help to subdue the
Mm.
tendency that a lot of leaders
Mm.
go towards
Mm.
being tyrannical. It's in every
Yeah.
one of us who have this certain personality type.
Absolutely.
And so I think your critics are one of those people that God
Mm.
uses to keep us on our knees, keep us
Mm.
humble, keep us
Mm.
always before the Lord.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
so I love my critics. I love those
Mm.
people who decry me as false, because they help me to actually stay true to what
Mm.
God has called me to. They keep
Mm.
me humble, reminds me
Mm.
that, there's humanity there, there's flesh there.
Mm.
But I've also learned that they're also free advertising. You know,
Very true.
um, you know,
That's my own biggest position on this.
they're also free advertising. So they, here's the thing: bad news sells more than good news.
And
If I
that's the
was to preach
truth.
a sermon, and the sermon was to how to operate in the angelic realm, maybe
Yeah.
100,000, 200,000 people will watch it. But if somebody was to post a video, Apostle Tommy punched parishioner in the face, that video, hey, that video will go viral. The Bible says in Ecclesiastes, a good name is better than precious oil. We started there in
Mm.
this session.
Mm.
But then it says, the day of one's
Mm.
death is better than the day of their life. That's
Mm.
where it fits. And you realize, if I was to, you know, when I die, my videos are going to be more viral than they ever were when I was
Absolutely.
alive. People are
Absolutely.
going to hear about me who never heard about me before. People are going to cry
Absolutely.
about me who never even watched me. They're just crying because somebody else is crying. Oh, who's Tommy Arayomi? Oh, he did this. You don't know the man of God, Tommy Arayomi. Oh, they're going to be weeping. My merchandise is going to go through the roof. Everything I've ever touched, people are just going to want more of it, because there's something about bad news, and there's something about death that lifts up a name more than when it was alive.
Mm.
Diana was more famous when she was dead than when she was alive.
That's true.
Martin Luther
That's
King is more famous when he's dead. They hated him when he was alive. Now he's famous now
yeah.
that he's dead. And
Yeah.
so you begin to discover these things about bad news is akin to that.
Yeah.
Eventually, when people start to spread things about you, which has happened to
Yeah.
me numerous times in my life.
Yeah.
I'm human. Of course, it hurts, you know.
Mm.
But the end of it has always been that God has been glorified. I'll give you one such
Absolutely.
example. I once did a video on the vaccine. God have mercy.
Okay.
And it was when the vaccine mandate was at its peak. And I'm giving all these disclaimers. I'm not a doctor. I was raised by a doctor, but I'm not one. I'm not a scientist. I'm just telling you what I feel in my spirit, right?
Mm. Mm.
The next day, I got a message, I think, from what was it? From NBC News saying,
Wow.
I would like to talk about your latest scandal involving you and Letitia Wright. I said, what? Letitia Wright? You mean the actress that's in Black Panther? Yeah. Next thing you know, I'm like, what scandal? What did I do? What did I do with Letitia Wright? You know, you're thinking, what did I do with Letitia Wright? Oh, this was bad. This was very bad. Listen, my wife's calling me. There's a reporter at the house. Next thing, BBC, NBC, Hollywood, entertainment news, um, Ben Shapiro, CNN, everywhere. World news. Letitia Wright, famous actress, shares self-proclaimed prophet, anti-vax, homophobe, transphobe video. Oh my goodness. I mean, YouTube shut down my YouTube channel. They
Wow.
blocked and deleted the video. And, people even began, if you go on Wikipedia today, it says Apostle Tommy of Light London Church. So they even mixed me up with my twin brother.
Which
And now my twin brother is calling me and he's saying, what did you do? I said, well, I don't know. So before you know it, this thing went everywhere. My Twitter was blowing up. You've ruined Letitia Wright's life. You blah blah blah. This, that, and the other. You homophobe. You transphobe. I'm like, did you watch the video? People are angry who never even watched the video. So what I decided to do was I decided I was going to take the video and post it on my app. I said, anybody who wants to watch it, come to my app. It's there. That day, we had 30,000 people download my app.
Wow.
So when you talk about turning a bad thing into fortune, that's what we did. We put it on the app and we made sure people had to sign up, register, just to watch the video.
Now you have database of potential. Wow.
Exactly. So that's how you turn a negative, I guess, into a positive. And everybody went to watch it. And they were like, these news people are lying. These newspapers said that. One newspaper read that I said that that the government through the vaccine was inserting antennas into people's head. They watched the video. It was nowhere there. So these newspapers I mean, it was just so dark. My dad, everyone's calling me, are you okay? You're all over the news. Are you okay? I mean, if you Google my name and Google Letitia Wright, you'll still see it there. Some articles are still there. They pop up every now and again. Every time she does something like Black Panther, it's like people ask her, but do you regret sharing that anti-vaxxer, homophobe, self-proclaimed prophets video? And so what did I do? I learned to turn this criticism into fortune.
You know, when I visited your house, I was telling your brother that I love him. He's very cool and calm. Your brother said, "Huh? Like, like we have a term in the house. Have you told me again? Like maybe you don't know the guy." Your brother was like, maybe you don't know the guy. He's more controversial than any one of us. I'm like, but he was just But you have mastered, and that's part of why I added under your discussion, because you've mastered this and you've leveraged on it. If I was telling people, I said, when I calculated how much we spend on advertising and marketing this year, I said to myself, why have I never been lucky to have a scandal? A scandal will just give me like a 500 million naira worth of advertisement in just one week. Like you could have, but I've never been lucky. I don't know why, but it's and I think for a lot of people who have found themselves in the industry of criticism, of having people say things about them, you need to turn it around. I learned this very much from Bishop Oyedepo. And he said it many times. He said, why I don't even reply? Is number one, some of these media houses have staff, they have employees. If they don't write about me, they're going to be out of business. So first of all, I'm happy that I'm helping to keep their staff to have a job. Number two, these people are giving me free publicity. The ministry grew bigger and bigger when somebody went on TV and kept talking about Bishop Oyedepo for 6 months consecutively. Right? Today, he would take his book on national television, tear it tomorrow, this about Oyedepo, next tomorrow, this. And many people never knew who Oyedepo was until those things started happening. So anybody coming after you is just doing you a big favor. Free marketing, free publicity. You just need to reposition, like Apostle had to do, reposition some of these things, your product, your services, so that it becomes what, people can see the other version. Because everyone will still go and say, okay, let me even study this guy. Let me even see what these people are saying. And in the quest for that, when they see positive things and discover the real you, they become part of your ministry or part of your business, And for me, I've noticed it has always worked. And I want to encourage people that every billionaire I've seen, I remember when we started our real estate business many years ago, I spoke to a gentleman who was a consultant for many of the big real estate companies. And I said to him, I'm scared to soil my name, because people can just wake up one day, say this, say that. And he looked at me and said, give me one billionaire that people have not said something negative about. And it was as if a veil was lifted. Because it just dawned on me that, come on, the journey of building wealth comes with its own negative. Some people will say some bad things. It's their opinion, they're entitled to it. You make sure you have your positives, you have who you are out there for people to see and be able to compare notes, apple for apple. But to be scared that people are going to say something bad about you, and because of that, you're not going to grow, you're not going to expand. Now you're shooting yourself in the leg, because nobody builds wealth without being bold enough to be themselves. You can't be somebody's copy and build wealth. Your authenticity, your originality is where the wealth comes from. People are going to love you more because, in spite of what people are saying, you yourself, I got to know Bishop Oyedepo almost 20 years ago. First of all, by the negativity. So I was being told, because I gave my life to Christ and SU. In SU, we are conservative. That was the term for born-again Christians in the 90s and 80s. But they were very conservative. We don't believe in earrings. We don't believe in jeans and all that. And so I heard about this church. This was what, they talk about prosperity, prosperity, prosperity. So I said to myself, I don't want to associate with that ministry. Fortunately for me, I lived with a family who were trying to do JAM, and they were winners. So they said I have to go to their church. It wasn't, they insisted. So I had to start going to Winners Chapel. And to my surprise, that month was about holiness. The second month was something again about the word. And before you know it, 3 months gone, and all I'm hearing is the word of God, holiness, evangelism. I'm like, what? Where is this prosperity, nothing about heaven, nothing about God that people have been saying about this ministry? Where is it?
Right.
And that's how I became a member of Winners Chapel. So for me is, again, if people don't carry another version of your story, you won't even be known. And the work of God won't even expand in your hand.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. So true. So true. So I've already kind of spoken about our mentorship habits a little bit.
Yes. We've covered mentorship.
Respect and partnership habits. Can I go I'll go to turning good networkers to source of income net worth, if that's okay.
Okay. That's beautiful.
Most people, I found, build networks, but they don't build nets that work. So it comes to building nets that work, you have to create certain structures. My background is marketing. My background is actually digital marketing. I used to consult for a lot of companies, ranging from FMCG to automobiles in their marketing strategies. And one of the things I always say to them is, you must live successful businesses that build successful networks. Turn the phrase networks into family. So you've got to build tribes, and you've got to build families. Today, the most valued companies are companies that build families and tribes, because, for instance, the people whose YouTube channels right now are being sold for billions of dollars. People want to buy it. Why? Because owning it means owning a huge family of people who are a cult following of that person or their personality. In the offline sense, you look at what you just said, and when I joined Winners, I even love the phrase, when I joined Winners. Who wants to join losers? So if you're not in Winners, you're automatically a loser. That's what Winners is saying.
That goes back to the name. That goes back to the name. That goes back to the name.
Exactly. So you need to build something that people want to be a part of.
Yeah.
You look at successful tribes like my friend Jerry Eze, you realize that man has built a tribe of people under a banner of prayer.
Yeah, that's massive.
Like anything it's a force of nature.
It's a force.
Whatever you have to say, people can criticize or whatever, or say good things or bad things. Man, he's amazing. He's a genius. God's hand is upon him, but he's also built a tribe of people under a banner. What God cannot do does not exist.
Does not exist.
The tribe have rallied under that name. Now, I've built a network of 164,000 people through media. And one of the things we do to succeed in our network is to give things away for free.
Wow.
You've got to leverage your network by giving enough away for free that when it comes time for an offer to be made, that network is accepting the price as if it was their idea.
Absolutely.
And how do you do that? You establish ministry and business or any enterprise based on one sentence: added value. Everything you do is for the added value of the person who's watching. That means if you're going to build a website, people come to me and say, can you audit my website? Sure. If I see at the top of your website a picture of your face, and the picture of your face says "Buy my book," or the first picture. I'm not saying if you're known, if you're unknown,
Yeah.
or it says buy my book, buy my idea, buy my product. It's better than McDonald's.
Mm.
Everybody's going to switch off from that website. Everybody's going
Yeah.
to go away from that because there's no added
Yeah.
value. There's
That's
nothing in
true.
that website that tells me you're here for me. It all tells me you're
Mm.
here for you. And the thing about online is not like offline.
Yeah.
Offline, the customer or the consumer or
Mm.
the
Mm.
parishioner
Mm.
doesn't have a gift that the online user has. Offline, the shop owner or the person on the other side of the deal is the person
Yeah.
with the most power. Online, the customer is the person
Yeah.
with the most power. Because whilst
Mm.
they're hearing about your car that you want to buy
Mm.
from them, that you're going to sell me for $50,000, they're already
Yeah.
on competitorcarmarket.com searching for the
Mm.
same car
Mm-hmm.
registration. Whilst you're talking, you don't even know they're
Mm.
doing their research, and they found the
Mm.
same car for $20,000, same make and model.
Exactly.
So they have
Exactly.
all the power, and most people don't know this. And the thing is, once I visit your store, I have a
Mm.
face. Once I visit
Mm.
your store, I've lost the gift of anonymity. Once I
Mm.
visit your website, I have the gift of anonymity. I can
Yeah.
walk into a brick and mortar shop and somebody
Yeah.
comes to me and says an awkward sentence, "Can I help you?" Ugh,
Yeah.
I just want to be left alone. I'm just browsing. These prices look too high for me. I'm in Louis Vuitton on a £50 salary. What am I
Yeah.
doing here? I'm just browsing, but I need to pretend I'm rich now that they ask me, "Can I help you?" So they leave all the labels on the inside. So you pick the label, you see $4,000 for a scarf. You're like, so you have to flex and go, that's really cheap. I'll be right back. And you never come back. But unlike this anonymity, I can go anywhere, any website. You won't even know I was there. So I always tell people you've got to pull your base out of anonymity. The first thing the website needs to do is pull that visitor out of anonymity. Otherwise, you've lost it forever. People show me their website and say, "Your website's beautiful. I love the photo shoot you've done. You don't even look like the real person. You're polished. You're all of this." But you haven't actually captured the person. There's no offer. There's no irresistible deal. And the most irresistible deal is free. What do I mean? Hey, download 3 chapters of my book today for free. Download one. Hey, download 1 chapter of my book. Get it here. You click here and it says, "Send me a place to send your free book to." It doesn't say, "Give me your email." They're gone. You've got to make up their idea. Where can I send your free book to? All of a sudden, they're giving you their information because now you're using family language. Once you have information, you have everything you need. You see, the conversion metrics of successful people has got to change. It can't be, "I've made this deal, I've sold this thing, I've caught this thing." No. Your conversion metric should not be to make profit. Your conversion metric should be get their data, get their name, get their email. Because once you have a mailing list, once you have a network, you actually have a business. And then once you find a model that works, and it's more than clickbait, because sometimes somebody said clickbait. Sometimes at the end of clickbait is the disappointment that the thumbnail doesn't match what I'm seeing on the other side. So you've actually got to meet the offer with genuine added value. Which means businessmen have got to be ministers. You've got to have compassion for the people you're trying to reach. You've got to be a compassionate person and say, I love you, so this is me sharing this free information with you. The top businesses in the world today give information away for free. And then they start saying, "Hey, listen, if you thought that was good, I have an inner circle. I have a group of people that I mentor, and I help them establish 7 levels of income in their life by walking with them personally through the process. I think you qualify." You see the language I'm using? I think you qualify to be a part of my tribe. So all of a sudden it's like, what? Me care. Dr. Stephen Scribe, I qualify to, you mean there's a list? It's like, yeah, and by the way, please let me know in a few days because this offer is about to go and somebody else may want it, so let me know. Now you're giving them what? Scarcity. You've got to give them the idea that what you have is so valuable that it's running out. This offer won't last long. So don't go away and be praying about it for 40 days, because by that time, somebody who wants it more than you has taken it. I'm Dr. Stephen. I'm giving you my valuable time. And this is simple. This is all it's going to get you into to access it. So you'll find that the best corporations in the world focus on an offer you can't resist with added value.
How do pastors, I mean, since the book is for pastors, how do pastors not feel, because, you know, sometimes the mindset, not feel that am I not playing gimmicks or game when I'm having this approach, you know, to selling, you know, whatever it is I need to sell. How do pastors work on that mindset?
Yeah, I think, like I said, you have to be a genuine servant. So people have to see you give enough away for free to say, wow, this person is always, our ministry is always giving stuff away. We're always sharing added value content with people. But I have a private members page. So the thing is, it's not compulsory for you to join them because there's a lot that you get access to for free. If you want to go deeper, then I share some more. Now the goal is, and this is what I've learned, don't monetize prayer. Don't monetize the anointing. Don't monetize prophecy. Monetize a school. Monetize education. Monetize a curriculum.
Powerful.
You know, monetize a system. So those are the things that you actually can, because like any school you go to,
you have to pay
school fees.
Exactly.
So, you know, it's not called, hey, buy this course on prayer. It's called, I want you to join a school of ministry that's going to teach you and educate you on intercessory ministry as the birthing place for starting all labor and work. So
and there's so much value. I mean, I saw the students of School of Prophets. It was amazing. I mean, they went everywhere. I'm like, whatever they even paid was, they didn't. Yeah, there was so much value they had, and it was a whole 9 yards of teaching. It wasn't just even about prophecy. They had entrepreneurs. They had royal father come to them. So they are really whole in the exposure. So, but I think most pastors don't even know this, and that's why I intentionally asked that question, because in their mind is, you know, I got everything free, everything is free. I don't know what parts, you know, and you're seeing them struggle financially. You know, they can't pay rent, they can't pay tuition fee, because they're just struggling. How do I make money? And it doesn't look as if I'm monetizing the anointing. I love this.
Absolutely. So our ministry, our you know, my income doesn't even come from my travel. Well, I do receive honorariums from my traveling and my speaking in several places, but that's going to become redundant in a few years as petrol prices begin to rise. Sooner or later, preachers are going to have to begin to look for different areas of income. There are churches I go to that I give the pastor an honorarium. The pastor that invited me to come and preach, I'm the one giving them an honorarium. You know, I went to, I don't, actually, I probably shouldn't say that. I don't want to grieve the Holy Spirit. But I've gone to places and ministries where I've honored them. Their honorarium my honorarium of them. When I looked at the church, I said, wow, this church needs a ceiling. They've been doing some announcements about it. Let's honor them. Let's pour back into them. And the reason I'm empowered to do so is because I'm not relying on my
Very true.
itinerant schedule or my
Very,
stipend as my source of income. So
yeah.
I'm creating for myself a place of
Mm,
stability.
mm,
I've recognized people want my content. They want to hear
mm,
what I have to say.
mm,
And I
mm.
can't sell prophecies. I've
Yes.
seen prophets do that, and I think it's
Yeah.
wicked and it's a terrible
Yes.
idea.
Yeah.
What I can sell,
Mm,
maybe selling is a horrible word for pastors. What I can share
mm.
and what I can monetize.
Yeah.
Biblically, I'm given permission to. You don't
Mm,
muzzle the ox that treads the grain,
mm-hmm.
and you don't cast precious pearls among swine. I can
Mm,
sell the pearls
mm.
that made me who I am today.
Yes.
I can
Yes.
sit down with people and say, these are the several secrets that
Mm,
released me into the ministry. And if you want to learn from them,
mm-hmm.
you're buying my time with my
Yes.
children, with my
Yeah.
family, time I could
Mm,
be given to other things. I'm giving that time to you, and
mm,
this is what the expectation is, that if I'm
mm,
ministering this, you should give me something carnal
mm,
back
mm-hmm.
in return
Yeah.
for this thing that I'm sharing with you. And so
Yeah.
content, I've found, is king. And
Mm,
as someone from a past in marketing, you'll find that if I always tell people who want to grow their social media channel, like
mm,
I've helped people, clients, grow their social media channel in the past. I don't so much
mm,
do that anymore, but people will ask me, can you do a course on how to grow your social media account,
mm.
or how to boost your following or
Yeah.
your YouTube media content? I've
Mm,
realized that the secret to growing is actually you have to produce content that adds value to your listener.
mm.
Number two, your listener doesn't know that your content is amazing. You know your
Yeah.
content is amazing. So you're sitting
Mm,
frustrated. Why did I put this video out and it only got 10 views, 20 views?
mm,
How do I get my listener to be more active in there? You know, I've seen people say, maybe I should buy it. And so they go to
mm,
Facebook and they buy views.
mm,
The problem is, if you buy views from Facebook and YouTube, you're going to have to keep buying them. Unless you have money to
mm,
spend, that's an
mm.
expensive venture.
Yeah.
Um, so the best way to do it is you have to create viral content. You have to
Mm,
learn to create content that, and that's where it does come back to clickbait. You have to learn to create content that catches people at the gate, because people
mm,
do just look by its cover. And you have
mm,
billions of content on the internet. What's going to make somebody stop at your piece of content?
mm,
Billions. You're competing against billions of content. What's going to make people stop at what you carry? It's a
mm,
good caption, a
mm.
very good caption, and a very, very good thumbnail. I mean, you'll see some of my captions. Like yesterday, I did a video. The Lord says, get back to religion. People are like, what? What are we doing in religion? We've left religion. Well, that was only 10 hours ago. It's already at 10,000 views.
Yeah.
Or a video I did, only those who do this will find Goshen. Me, I want to find Goshen. That's what the end person is thinking. That was 4 days ago. That's already 113,000 views.
The one on he that cannot lift the flag, cannot lift the
Cannot live
nation.
today.
You know,
Exactly.
I shared that one on my page. Oh, you need to see comment upon comment. I mean, I had to like, you guys should even watch it. Like, he didn't say he prophesied. I mean, okay, but that content went viral as well.
Exactly. So you see, you have to be the viral nature of God's day with the prophets in the Old Testament. I learned this from the Old Testament. Hey,
Yeah,
eat poo. Hey, walk, go marry a prostitute. Hey,
yeah,
walk around the street naked. In other words,
yeah.
clickbait. Let people go, what's going on? What's the prophet doing eating poo? What's the
And
prophet doing? Because
Elijah
you
and
have to,
Elijah were specialists at this.
exactly. And so actually you have to be able to pull people in
Yeah.
through acts that make them go, what is this person talking about here?
Yeah.
I have to investigate this further. If everything you say is already on the tin, then people are going to be like, been there, done that, seen that. And so there
Yeah.
has to some actual science involved. I sit with my media team. I'm on the
Mm.
media team more than I'm the CEO of our ministry. I'm
Mm.
more the media director. If I can give
Yeah.
myself a real
Yeah.
job, Rig
Wh-
Nation, I'm Rig
Which was
Nation's
your
media.
background? Which was your
Yeah,
background itself?
exactly. Exactly. So I understand the way the 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 social media can be leveraged. And
Mm.
165,000 followers is not a lot to some people,
Mm.
but it depends what you do with them. It
Mm.
depends how you leverage it.
Mm.
People subscribe to your page. People are obsessed with how many subscribers do I have to my page. That's
Yeah.
not the obsession. That should never be the obsession, because those subscribers belong to YouTube and they belong to
Yeah.
Instagram. They do
Yeah.
not belong to you. And I
Yeah.
learned that the day that I posted that video and YouTube shut down my account for 2 weeks. I could
Wow.
not access their audience. When I
Wow.
woke up from the utopia of having 100 and something thousand followers, I realized I've got to get them to my platform. I've got to
Wow.
get them something that can never be erased, never
Yes.
belongs to YouTube, never belongs to Facebook. So people say, oh, I have 1 million followers on Instagram. You don't have 1 million followers on Instagram.
Mm.
Instagram has 1 million followers on Instagram. The
Mm.
moment they shut down your account, you've lost all those followers. And
Wow.
the social media world is becoming ever increasingly hostile to conservative and Christian voices.
Very true.
And so
Very
there's
true.
surely going to come a time where we have to start creating our own platforms. So I
Mm.
always tell, like, media people or business people, start creating them now. Create networks
Mm.
that cannot be cancelled.
Mm.
Get email
Mm.
addresses. Get
Mm.
backup copies, because
Mm.
it's the most important thing of the next 10 to 20 years is going to be data.
Absolutely.
The more of it
Absolutely.
you own and the more
Yeah.
specific it is, the better. Somebody asked me, why did you build a social media app? I built one. They said, why did you build it? I said, because I learned the day YouTube shut down my account that I don't own those followers. YouTube owns them. So I
Wow.
need to build an application where I can own the data. And
Mm.
no better way to own data than social media apps, because
Mm.
people give their information to you for free. It's not
Mm.
like a thing, a website. You say, give me your email, and somebody goes, no, why
Mm.
should I give you my email, my phone number, and my address? No, in social media apps, they give you their face, they give you their surname, their first name.
Mm.
In some social media apps, they give you the thumbprints. They give you even
Mhm.
their thumbprint, something they won't even give
Mhm.
to their police. They're giving to a
Mm.
corporation. They're giving you
Wow.
their health status. They're giving you all of this data, is just flooding them. And so, when I owned a social media app, I realized, wow, I have people's geolocation. I have people's date of birth. I have their name. I
Wow.
have their profile picture. I have their videos. I have their habits, their spending habits, their user time, how much time they're on their mobile phone, how much time they're using my app. All of those things are at my disposal. So if I have a contract that says your information may be shared with third parties, I hope you're okay with this, terms and conditions. Anybody can come and utilize that information for their own thing, and it helps me build business as well.
Wow. Somebody's asking, what's the name of your app?
Name of the app is Rig Nation, but there's a new one we're building right now. That's why I'm not making too much noise about it.
Mm. Amazing. Okay, great. Guys, have you gotten value today? If you got value, come on, type value, 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 value. This is a whole massive masterclass, and the value is just amazing. Even those who are not pastors are able to learn so much from this particular content. I definitely recommend it for everyone, and this is powerful. I think we have one or two to go. Do we have one or two points to touch as we wrap
Oh
up?
yeah, sorry. Um, Looking for it now. So focusing on vision and mission habits.
Mm.
I
I think
think in so many
we
ways,
can merge it with the family value for family habits as well, so we can do the two together.
yeah, yeah. I'm reading this amazing book. I shameless plug, but it's not my book. I encourage everybody to get this book, The Elimination of Hurry. It's a great read. It's actually really, it's
Who is the
quite
author?
humorous. The author is John Mark Comer. And every visionary needs to get this book because I've only started reading it yesterday. I'm already on page 70, because it really deals with the fact that we're all in a hurry for our vision and our mission, especially in this country, Nigeria,
Yeah.
to manifest. That he talks about a radical approach to eliminating hurry and
Wow.
why hurry can kill the success of mission and vision. And
Mm.
I just love the book because it's very practical. It doesn't just apply to ministry; it applies to
Mm.
business. It applies to everything. And it
Mm.
really speaks about how technology and all of these things have eroded our time for family and our time for balance in the
Mm.
vision of which we go by. And it deals with this common lie: if only I had more time. You know, in today's age, we actually have more time. And
Mm.
I love what it talks about because it talks about how even the invention of time itself was a
Yeah.
curse upon mankind.
Very
Because
true.
before it used to be the moon that governs the night, the sun that governs the day. The moment it gets dark, it's time to stop work. That's why
Yeah.
Jesus said, "Work while it's yet day, for night comes when no man can work." Then it's all about the
Mm.
invention of the light bulb, how that extended time to the point that now we no longer go to sleep at the right time. We're now
Mm.
up till 2, 3, 4 in the morning because now we've
Yeah.
created a sun. We brought the sun into our house to increase
Wow.
the length of day. And now we're
Wow.
living these unhealthy lives. And then it talks
Wow.
about revivalists like John Wesley, who said he used to wake up at 4 o'clock. And he says, but these men went to bed at 7 p.m. The moment darkness hits, they all stop work and it's time for bed. And so, we have a generation who are so, and I love hard work, believe me. I need to swallow my own medicine. I'm a workaholic. I love
Yeah.
working. I enjoy
Yeah.
it, you know. But the value for family habits is one of the things that my most dreaded question: how do you create balance? That question is like, thank God it wasn't on this particular interview because I'd be a hypocrite to even answer that question. You know, but I think that's why I read so much, because I'm trying to determine some of those things in my own life to create some extra areas of balance. Because if you don't mind, I just want to read one short, very short sentence out of it. It
Please
says,
go ahead.
"Somehow you started a business but ended a marriage." you know, when you read a line like that, it's like Jesus is Lord. So it hits you right here. It's one of those books that slaps you right in the face. And it's like, wow, oh, you started a business, but you ended a marriage. Jesus is Lord. Maybe it's time for me to do that. So when you talk about focus on vision and mission habits and then value for family and merging the two, gosh, it sounds like a question of balance. And I always, vision, mission, and values, very important words and near and dear to my heart. And I think
Yeah.
that, you know, unfortunately, the vision can deteriorate your values if you're not careful.
Mm.
And
Mm.
the,
That's
the,
powerful. Vision
the,
can deteriorate your value. Wow,
it
that's
can,
powerful.
I think it can, especially, if you're not careful and you're stressed. I was reading this, again, I'm sorry to keep hammering on about this book, but it's really doing some conviction, Holy Ghost conviction in me
It is.
to sort out. But I was taking some notes on it. and it was talking about some things that help you know if you're rushing this thing called life. Here's how you
Mm.
know. It says irritability, number one. You know,
Mm.
and then it says, don't ask your, before you think of asking your colleagues, don't ask your colleagues, ask your spouse. Like, oh God. This thing is even giving me a chance to wiggle my way out of this one. And it says
That's tough.
hypersensitivity. Minor things escalate, restlessness. You get bored easily, you're overdoing, overcleaning, workaholism. Then you get sunset fatigue, where the sun is down and you have no more strength left to even hug your children or spend time with your. There's emotional numbness, feeling no pain, out of order priorities. You're getting sucked up into the tyranny. I love this. You get sucked up into the tyranny of the urgent over the important.
Wow.
Lack of that slapped me right in the face.
Wow.
Lack of care for your body. And then it says you surrender to the four horsemen of the industrialized apocalypse: caffeine, processed carbs, alcohol, and pornography. Then it says escapism. You start to embrace cultural narcotics. That word, I was like, what's a cultural narcotic? It said Netflix and social media. I was like, ouch. Slippage of spiritual discipline, isolation, and entertainment anxiety. You know, when somebody comes to you, go, did you watch the latest episode of Game of Thrones? What? You mean you didn't watch it? Now you have entertainment anxiety. I've got to go and catch up on all this. So these things are signs in the modern day of you know, that lack of balance between vision and values. And you know, to the extent that I've kind of decided that I cannot let my vision override my values.
Absolutely.
You know, people think if I can, they tell their wives, mostly men, if I can just finish my mission, trust me,
Ah,
you're gonna be
that
so
it's a
happy.
journey, it's not a destination. Your mission is a journey. You will get there.
Exactly, exactly. Kids, you're gonna be so happy when daddy finally makes it. And the problem is when daddy finally makes it, the kids have found a way to live without dad. And now, you know, dad is trying to relive. I'm gonna say something that you know, I honor my parents. So I'm really scared, tepid to speak negative of them. And this isn't really a negative. My dad is a very successful man. He's not just a medical doctor, he's the consultant of an entire region in the United Kingdom. And for a Nigerian born African to become the consultant of a region it's no small feat. So he's always been a hard worker, he's always been disciplined. I probably get my workaholism from him. But my dad would, you know, he would strive. We didn't start in a big house. My dad owns houses now. We started in a small flat in Glasgow with a nanny from the village of Africa.
Ooh, whoop
Gorgeous.
your butt. Not, those nannies don't know UK culture.
Exactly. And so all of a sudden, God started to slowly grow my father and promote him. But you know, my dad was so busy at work, and to be a worker, you have to be somewhat sociopathic. And I was probably too harsh a term, but you have to shut down some level of emotion to continue. You know, you're tired. One of my favorite verses of scripture is Gideon and his 300 men, tired yet pursuing. That's a perfect analogy for most men, exhausted but they're pursuing. And you have to shut down a certain level of domestication, humanity, and become a machine just to do all that. That's why most men, when they come back from work, they need at least an hour to themselves just to kind of become an emotional person again, because they become an industrialized juggernaut for
Yeah.
hours, working like a machine. And my dad was that 24/7. So he had irritability, restlessness, emotional numbness, lack of care for his body, lack of priorities, isolation, all of these things. I was raised in that kind of environment. Everything would irritate, everything would agitate, everything was extreme. When my dad finally made it, 7-figure salary, wonderful houses, wonderful cars. My dad, one day, he put his hand on the small of my neck. And I flinched like this because I thought he was going to beat me, because I'm so used to I'm so used to that level of discipline. I flinched because I thought, here it comes. Here comes the abuse. Here comes the hit. And it was him just, oh, my son, my son. And then he tried to hug me. And it felt like somebody was pouring lava down my chest, like hot lava. I was so uncomfortable. I just wanted to move away. I was like, please make this hug stop. Because he didn't know that whilst he was busy trying to blow, I had
Wow.
found a way to live without him.
Wow.
And so the day he finally decided to show all of that affection and
Wow.
love, he didn't
Wow.
know that I was the sacrifice. I was the collateral damage on the way to his success.
Wow.
And it wasn't his fault. He did the best with what he knew.
Yeah.
Now me looking and saying, see me traveling. Even this last trip, by now I was meant to be coming back from California. I canceled the trip. I'm sorry, I can't go. I'm gonna be at home. I'm being convicted. I cannot repeat that.
This book is beating me, right?
I cannot repeat that thing. But I'm telling you, I think every pastor, every businessman, I think book. It's really, I don't agree with it there. Honestly, if I'm honest, I don't agree with everything there, but majority of it I think is so powerful.
Yeah.
It's The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Comer, How to Stay Emotionally Healthy and Spiritually Alive in the Chaos of the Modern World.
And it's funny how ruthless he said it. You know, it's funny when a book is advising you to be more emotional, but the way the book is written is as if there's no, like the author is a sarcastic, like he doesn't even have emotion.
I'm telling you, this guy, he has lots of hyphens for sarcasm in the book. I mean, lots of it. Everywhere you look, there's a sarcastic comment he's getting rid of. It's a lethal
I guess that's the way. That's the only way you could connect with people who have some bit of that in them. Exactly. You know, like you recognize who you are somehow. Exactly. I think it was intentional by the author. But one of the things for me, because my own journey was different from yours. Mine was the extreme of a dad who is always there. I can wake up, I see my dad. His sleep, he was there. He was a pastor, then a CNS prophet. And, you know, he knows the Bible offhand. So wake up. In fact, when they take lights, you know, NEPA, we call them then. By that, we ask us to start singing hymns that will make them bring back lights. I mean, it's just so crazy religion. There are few mountains in the world I have not gone to pray, in Nigeria rather, that have not gone to pray. Like, I mean, that was the background. When you commit a crime, it's fasting. It depends on the level of the crime. Either 1 day fast or 3 day or 7 day or 3 day dry. And these were kids, you know. But my mother was not the one who had to financially raise and be there for 5 children. So I watched my mom grow and struggle. I mean, she eventually died of ovarian cancer. And that taught me, for me, the place of, while you're trying to so-called balance, you just have to be there for your family financially. Because in my case, it was yes, you were there physically, but I mean, we never really even connected with it. We could see you every day. Yeah, but we knew that my mom is having to go borrow money to send us to school. There was
Wow.
insult, there was a lot of humiliation because of, and you were there. You just, kept, this religion over and over and over. So what I had recommended is called compensation. If I
Mm,
have to go, for a business trip for 1 month or 2 months, so be it. But can I then put together a vacation? And that's why I probably do almost 4 vacations with my family every year. Can I then do a vacation with them that then compensate? And then we
yes.
have that quality, memorable moments that for a long time stick in their head when Disney, when these were having this with daddy and or we're together biking, bikes is the new game me and them do. I think my daughter wants us to start playing Monopoly, but I can't even remember. I have to play Monopoly now. She love so, but I'm then learning to say, how do I compensate? So if there are periods I've been away or have not been there, can I then compensate for
Right.
that timing rather than necessarily say I'm totally, because I think it's difficult to balance. And I've seen
Very.
people yes, I think the conversation is a meat that might not, it might be difficult to really achieve. But compensation, that's very easy. It's in your control. It's in your control to say, I've not been there for 2 months. Now I'm going to give 1 week, no other
Right.
thing, just me and the
Right.
family. That
Right.
definitely can be done. Another thing I had to do as well was to make sure my wife wasn't heavily committed to business or career like I am. So I'm going to take that cross, but my wife must be there. And that has also helped. So they have that emotional feel, they have that compliment. And when they're asking for daddy, mommy can say, "Hey, daddy is the one doing the work so that we can be this comfortable, right?
Sure.
So that we can
Sure.
have this kind of lifestyle." Somebody has, and that also begins to ingrain into them the concept of value for money, because I've seen a Gen Z generation that the so-called balanced parents in some cases have then raised a lazy generation. I then raise
Yes.
people who feel they can eat their cake and have it. Raise a
Yeah.
generation who feel they can just get it quick and fast
Yes.
and
Yes. Yes.
right now, you know, and
Yeah.
so I think God wants even the balance. There should be a balance in the balance.
Exactly. And again, like I said, it's one of my least favorite topics is balance.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
every child is different. That's the other
Mm,
thing as well. Nobody's a factory set. My middle
mm,
child is like he's self-parented. That kid
yeah,
just he takes care of himself. He's very
yes,
independent, very
yeah.
verbose. My oldest child is so connected to me that
Wow,
if I leave the house, he must come. Even
wow,
if I'm going to a church service, he must come. If I'm praying,
yeah,
he's praying. If I'm crying, he's crying. If I'm worshiping, he's
wow,
worshiping. If I'm laughing, he's laughing. So
wow,
he's the one that is more like me.
yeah,
He wants his dad. He doesn't
yeah,
want money, doesn't want, I grew up around, our backgrounds are very different. You're right. And that
yeah,
probably should be a great case study for a book one day
yeah.
because I grew up
Exactly. Two
with a dad.
extremes.
Yeah, exactly. I grew up around a dad who gave me everything holidays, uh, swimming pool, table. We were the only, and we were Africans in the UK, and we were richer than the people who lived in the country. And
Wow.
some of our friends would come to our house, swim in the pool. They'd be like, "Tell me, how's a pool?" We even had a club in our house. We had disco lights, disco, everything. So I didn't even need to go to the clubs. The clubs were our house.
Hey,
For
wow,
many years, people come do big parties, DJs, all of that. I was
wow,
the typical, I was the typical financially spoilt child. In my
wow.
school, they say, the kids would go, where are you going on holiday? And they'd say things like, and if you're in the UK, you understand these terms. They say places like, oh, I'm going to Skegness. Oh, I'm going to Dover. Oh, going to Slough to see my nan, my grandma, right? They'll tell me, where are you going? I'm going to the Bahamas again. And they'll be like, what's wrong with you? But I grew to hate those things because of I was a different child. I wasn't. Sorry, there's a mosquito trying to bite me. I wasn't like my middle child. I was like my oldest child. I wanted to be around my dad 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It was unreasonable, unsustainable, but it's what I needed. And so, balance is difficult because there has to be balance within balance. Not every child can be a factory setting. They don't come with a default factory setting. They're all their own defaults in their own different ways and their own hardwiring. So parenting is, in Nigeria, parenting is done with the assumption, especially in our generation, that everybody's kind of the same. And so you just gotta provide for the house, feed them, cook them, bathe them, and beat them all the same, right? But in reality, when you discover that each child is different, you thank God, like, or in your case, there's a mom in the house who can actually become the shepherd of the home and deal with each one uniquely. Because, I'd imagine, like I said, to be in your line of work, you have to be a machine. And so imagine the Terminator's coming home. It's not the one with the skin on, it's the one with all the skin off, and you just see the red eyes go. That's who I saw of my dad. My dad was the Terminator. I saw the machine. I could not see humanity because he needed to be that. He came from Africa, he came from Nigeria with the struggle. So
he had to compensate for where he's coming from.
Exactly. Now, here's the irony. Imagine him compensating from where he came from, giving his education, a British passport, and here's one of his sons moving to Nigeria, the very place. Oh, that's torture right there. That's irony. But that's the way God works.
I tell people this is why God is bigger than man. Because even in your balancing, you just realize that you can never be perfect, and it's what makes God God. He's the only perfect one. And I realize that even in that imperfection of our parents, like in your case, your dad, in my case, my dad, then comes our ministry, then comes our destiny, then comes our purpose, which God then uses us to heal a version. I know how many people have been healed by the hurts they've had with their parents just when I share my story about my dad. And they're like, so you had this and you had to take care of the man, you had to do, like, you know what, I'm going to forgive my parents today. And so if I didn't go through that, there goes that ministry of reconciliation. I know several, irresponsible men that have turned as, to start seeing life differently after they met me when I shared my dad's story and the need for men to be financially responsible for their family. You can't just fold your hands and your wife is having to do everything, bring all the money, and then you, the man, you're claiming, you have to be. So I think God, even in those imperfect situations, God is raising somebody. God is, giving us our purpose and help making us become the tool that then heal other people who have gone through that.
I believe it. I believe that. I fully believe that too.
Amazing. I want to thank you for coming. And it's been a fantastic conversation. Really, really. Guys, come on. If you had a great time, come on, express it. Can you all type thank you, Apostle Tommy? We've had a beautiful, beautiful time. The launch of the book is on my birthday, 28th of January. So I appreciate if you can note that day.
January as
Uh,
well. That's great.
yeah, so we need you to be there at the launch because technically you are now part of the book because some conversation here will be in the book. And it will be lovely to have you at the launch on the 28th. Most likely it's going to be Nigeria, but if it's not Nigeria, we'll get everybody flight ticket to wherever it is and we'll have to come. But most likely it's going to be Nigeria. Yes.
Okay.
So
Wonderful. Well,
thank you
for
once
having me.
again. I appreciate it. God bless you. Mary